sis, if you're still sitting on the sidelines talking about, I really want to do this, but, or I'm afraid because, or maybe this isn't good enough, or I'm not good enough, this video is for you. Hey, community. If you are new to me, my name is Amanda Flood, and as a psychotherapist and mindset coach, I help ambitious professionals like you reconnect to their purpose, increase their confidence, and use their degree in creative ways to amplify their impact. Can I be honest? I used to hate coaching, and that's what we're talking about today. I really feel about coaching. I had this strong negative view of it, really, because everybody's a coach and there's no ethical guidelines and a lot of just big talking and fast talking and poor delivery. And as a licensed psychotherapist who spent so much time in my craft and developing that, I had a hard time respecting coaching. But I'll be honest, things have changed probably in the last year. Let's get into that. So my hesitation was, it's just not a field with any ethical boundaries. That came up for me a lot. And that means anybody can do it. There's no regulation as to who you can see, things like requirements for continuing education, right? As a psychotherapist, for example, we have to take a certain amount of continuing education to even renew our license. That means whether or not you want to, you've got to keep learning. And that's so important because some people just think they got it. Some people don't see the value of continuing to learn their craft. And the thing is, there's another being on the other side of the work that you do, right? And your ability to help them navigate a space can cause more harm if you're not prepared to do it, right? Just like you don't need to see every therapist because not everybody's equipped for you. If you have a real issue with obsessive compulsive disorder, that's a specialty. Not everybody is trained to handle that. And I think it's the same thing with coaching. It's become so everywhere. It's hard to tell what's really for you, who's really invested, and what's valid. And I won't take away from licensed professionals too, because we're not perfect. We got our issues too, right? But I guess for me, it was more just because you have experience in the area doesn't mean that you're ready to coach, right? Do you know it well enough to teach it? Have you coached yourself, right? Can you get yourself out of a space? Or are you still triggered and a hot mess too, right? Because you've had this big thing happen or you've done it or you worked through it, right? It doesn't mean that you're also ready to do that work yet. Sometimes you may still have to do a little bit of healing yourself, or at least be in that process as you're also showing up as a coach. In this coaching space too, there's a lot of fake it till you make it and creating all these big signature high ticket offers. And the problem with that is it doesn't always align with who you are or what your experience is. And it's hard to sell because you don't believe in yourself in the first place, or you don't believe in the product and what you produced in the first place. Right. So I think that's why it also feels yucky and uncomfortable for a lot of us, especially in the helping profession, because we are so committed to our people and their experience that, that fast business disconnected thing just really isn't us. And to jump into that and create from that space usually doesn't feel good at all. And especially, again, helping professionals or anybody, if you can't really believe in you in the first place and you don't even understand or can articulate your gifts, it's going to be very difficult to really thrive in that space. Okay. And I'll insert myself into this, in my own desire to learn and get better at my craft as a psychotherapist, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. I just sign up for way too many shiny things. Okay. And sometimes I still do, even though I'm on a timeout for this year, because I'm committed to big things and I want to put all my energy into learning that. Right? I'm in the biggest mastermind I've ever been in, and it's been such a great experience, but it does require time and energy. And it requires intention about saying no to other things. And, we get into that space sometimes when we're really not sure of ourselves, right? And I think I said yes to a lot of things that ended up being a bus for me. It just didn't get me to where I wanted to be. But I will say that I learned a lot. And that's the thing with doing even just a little bit, right? In the doing and in showing up and in trying and taking action towards what you want, even if it doesn't work out, you can learn a lot. Okay. I picked up the process and foundations of what was possible for me as a private practice owner wanting to expand her business and create additional opportunities for herself, right? I learned new ways that I can leverage myself and leverage my business that I never thought about before venturing down this road. And I get it. I get why we go after so much at the same time, like the kid in the candy store who wants like everything all at once. When you don't have something and you see it in front of you, it's like you want everything and you don't really know what's good for you or how much that you really need. It's hard to really kind of balance. So, when you have no blueprint of what success can look like, you do need guidance. And I think that's the space that coaching falls into. And that's the level of respect that I have for it now because I see that it has a space. It has a space in really teaching you and guiding you in areas that you're just unfamiliar with, right? So there is a space for coaching when it's done right. And there's some really stand-up people out there who are genuine and coach from a heart-centered place. Like one of my coaches, Kiki Stan, she's a coach in the UK, right? Like sis went all over the world to find what she needed. And my first coach, she's a Black woman, Vanessa Collins. She was awesome too. She's really great with like the tech stuff and really seasoned and really just like patient with you. And I needed more of that one-on-one help in the beginning and even the logistics of like, all right, girl, like how do I connect PayPal to the course to the website? And that was super helpful for me. So, there are great people out there. And I think it also helps coming into this having a sense of what you need. Even though, again, like as you do it, you'll have a better sense of it, but it helps because then you can kind of get to who you need faster because there's so many things. There's coaches for everything, right? Like I've had a public speaking coach, like Pam from her podium, social media coaches, and coaches that dabble in both mindset and socials, right? My last girl really schooled me in how to become a mogul, right? And that's Miss Jasmine Chanel. And I loved it. And I think why I was able to learn the most from Jasmine was because I had also done all this work, right? That prepared me to maximize on what she had to offer. So that's the other important part of doing is it positions you better. So when you get to like your elite coaches, you can show up, you can ask questions, you already have a sense of the work, you're ready to do the work, and you can really take advantage of coaching. Another thing that's been super beneficial for me or that's come out of this process of being coached, because this you do got to be coachable, right? I've been able to utilize their skills and blend it with my expertise as well to expand therapy to now mindset coaching for Black women in business and apply those skill sets to consulting and speaking as well. In the process of my experiences and my learning and my own development and growth as a helping professional, I recognize like there's still this gap in the coaching field, right? Because it does lack professionals at the table. And it does lack the perspective of a helping profession, which is different when you come through like the business lens or the corporate space. We just move differently. And for me, I want to see more of my helping professions at the table, honey. All right. I want to see my psychotherapists, my educators, my counselors, my lawyers, my social workers. I want to see y'all occupying these spaces as well because our skills are transferable. Okay, like, do y'all get mad seeing all these other folk packaging up what they know and monetizing their expertise? Do you watch them like, I could do that or better? I know I do, right? And typically, the clients who come to me, they really see that they belong there too. They just don't know how to do it. Or the other demographic that I coach, they may kind of know that they're not operating in their purpose and something about like their 9 to 5 isn't exactly it. So they're not even at the part of like packaging and what everybody else is doing. They're still stuck within themselves, right? And when you're in that place of like something doesn't feel good to me and I don't even want to walk in the building every day, like I've been in that space too. It doesn't feel good, right? And for some of those folks, it's not that they want to quit their job, right? Not everybody wants to quit, even though there's a big mass exodus, honey. And as a corporations, we got to learn how to keep our people. But I think for the folks that I'm with, they just know that they're made for more and they may not be able to pinpoint that, and then that's why they come into the coaching experience with me. And I'm actually curious, like, where do you fall, right? If you know you're the expert but just don't know how to package outside of your traditional career, let me know. Or if you're disconnected from your purpose, let me know that too in the comments. I see both, and I'm just wondering where you are, right? Okay, so either way, we just have to learn to leverage those skills, target our own fears and doubts so we can step into these spaces and amplify our impact. That's what coaching has done for me. I've said so many things that coaching has done for me so far. But another big thing is that it's allowed me to just reach more women and bring to them more skills and sooner. And like that's been a joy for me. Wherever you are, your career or your profession is just one path to healing. It's one path to your purpose. And the greatest lie folks in my generation or older has been told is like, we can only be committed to one plantation and have to give our gifts to serve there almost until you die. Okay. Many of you know your 9 to 5 alone is not it. I hear it. I hear it when you come to my office, and it's hidden in this disconnect from how you show up as the Black woman who has it all together with her degrees and her trainings and her accolades, and that lack of joy and direction that you feel underneath that. I hear it as your coach when I question if you are good enough to share your ideas. Not if I question that, but when you question that, am I good enough? Right? When you say in the spaces, the safe spaces that we create, that I don't think my voice is even worthy enough of being heard. Okay. Or I see it in your resistance around doing the things that may bring you success. Right? Like that space is a very unique space to women of color in particular, and to professionals who, to one degree, we've arrived, but it just doesn't align with who we are. And, when I stepped into this arena of coaching, I wanted you to have these amazing skills to help close that gap. Skills that I've cultivated over the years as a trauma and anxiety specialist, so you can stop responding to the internal conversations about what you can't do. We can disrupt that before you even get to the couch, right? And, we have to kind of own that even as professionals, fear enters our space. It enters our space of expertise and it limits us. Okay. And this is why mindset coaching is just important. It's just necessary before you can build in any other direction, before you can even decide what kind of coach you want to be or what business you want to build or the client you want to serve. And believe me, honey, I help with those sides too. My friends always like, damn, you know so much, girl, that there's so many layers to you. All of that is me, right? But because I've done all this work, like, girl, I could throw that out in a heartbeat. But most importantly, the part I love is aligning with you to understand the emotional obstacles that are becoming physical barriers to your success. Like, you can build a healthy business if you want to, but you cannot do it on a jacked up emotional foundation. And we can work on both. And I go through a lot of this in like all the work that I do. Like even when I created my purpose planner, right? We talk about that in here, like how we wait for validation and things like fear as well. But coming back to validation, for example, from external sources, like waiting for that promotion, or validation from loved ones, like, girl, how long are you going to wait on that? The validation you're waiting on may never come, especially if it's from people who don't see your value in the first place, right? And that line right there came right from the planner, right? It's actually a great resource. And I think it's a great resource to look at, not just your obstacles, but your goals. And I'll make sure to link it below so you guys have that too. And I suggest you pick it up and maybe later in the year we can connect, because I want to do that as a standalone workshop again, chasing your purpose, because it's so powerful when we can look at the things that get in the way and we can learn how to dismantle that. But in the meantime, I am going to give you some prompts to work with now. Like if you follow me on the regular or you follow me on this channel, I want you to know that I will be the one to give you some homework, or at least something tangible that you can do. I just don't want to talk to you. I want you to work. So take a moment to actually like this video right now, sis, and subscribe to the channel so you can come back later in case you missed something. I want you to find this so that you can get all the questions and do the work. But let's go, girl. Some questions to help you assess if fear is interrupting your process. If you will, it's a little bit of coaching or a little bit of guidance, if that's okay. Is that okay? All right. So when clients come to me for coaching, usually Black and brown professionals who overthink their gifts and have trouble articulating their value or what they offer, I'm always intentional about working with them in this way. Working with them around the mindset shifts, introducing some deeper skills. And, I got like a library of tools also to bring out the gifts, but this right here is magic. And I'll give you 2 prompts to help you assess if fear is interrupting your process. All right, so you ready? The first is, am I focusing on the worst case scenario? Fear often stems from a focus on the worst case outcome, right? It generates all this anxiety. Like, what if is an anxiety? If you're thinking ahead, like all that couples together will trigger that anxiety. And when we have that anxiety happening and we're overthinking, it often leads to inaction. And in that space of like worry and overthinking, we tend to focus on the negative consequences of our actions rather than the potential consequences. I'm going to take that back. We focus on the negative consequences of our actions rather than the potential benefits. Does that sound like you? And if so, your fear may be holding you back. Another question to look at is, am I getting stuck in analysis paralysis? We love to compare ourselves to other people. We love to overthink what we do. And that overthinking often leads to analysis paralysis, where you get stuck in that cycle of overanalyzing. There's a lot of indecision. So I don't know what to pick. This one is doing that. Why aren't I doing that? If you're constantly in that place of analyzing and reanalyzing situations, without actually making a decision or taking action, you might be in that place of paralysis, right? So these are questions to just think about. Do you feel that need for more information or reassurance before you can actually move forward? Is it like, oh, I need another course. I need to sign up for this. I'm not ready for this. I don't know this. Like if you're in that space, your overthinking may be limiting your progress. All right. So those were 2 great questions to help you think about if fear is interrupting your process. And this channel is all about courage over fear. So we've got to understand what courage is, and we've got to understand how fear might be showing up for you. Okay. In my own growth as an entrepreneur over the last 4 years, it's been hard to grow professionally on my own. And I recognize that in the other women around me. And I recognize that it's hard, again, when we don't have that roadmap. When you aren't clear, you're more at risk for unethical behaviors. You're more at risk to buy all the shiny things because you are so passionate and because you do want it to work so bad, right? But sometimes that desperation can help us fall into things that really don't align with us, okay? And it can keep us in this place of inaction instead of acting on our dreams and our goals at all. So if anything, after all of this, I just want to remind you that taking action is the most powerful thing you can do, even if it's imperfect, even if we end up like signing up for some duds, right? It's better than not doing anything at all. But I'm going to trust that you're going to use your intuition and do your research and really connect to like people that have been doing it or that have a little more substance or just work from a place of value and the same values that you share. Okay. But all right, sis, I'm excited for this season of Courage Over Fear. Oh my God. And we'll be going deeper to dismantle what's behind those fears, like this belief that I'm not good enough, and really bringing in some holistic ways, bringing in all my therapy skills, honey, to contain that energy and just more inspiring conversations from other women who look like you. It won't always be me. I'm going to have some great guests on here. And, the part that is important to me is that you get what you need to see what's possible, even if that's through someone else's experience, because that's how you build that blueprint for what you don't know. So we're going to give you that information that you may not have ever had so that we can heal those spaces and we can support you in your knowing, right? Because I want to expose all of those fears and get you to your truth. All right. Beautiful hanging out today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time for our next episode of Courage Over Fear. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram too at Amanda Flood, Amanda.Flood, F-L-U-D-D. And leave me a comment, right? You know, I would love to hear what stood out for you today. I'm glad that you stuck it out to the end. Until then,